welcome to the All About Property live show. This is where I come into this group every Saturday, do a live video with specific content for this group about an engagement post that's gone on in this group. So this is approved by OS, and this week's video is about, is social media valuable or a massive waste of time? What do you think? And this post come from Charlie Tar, I believe it is, T-A-R-R, I believe I said that correctly, but I'm a little bit dyslexic, so apologies, Charlie, if I haven't said that correctly. So what's your views around social media? Do you think it is a valuable or a massive waste of time? The fact that you might be watching this now or watching this later on and catching up with this means you might answer that in itself, but some people might use something and still don't find it valuable. So I'm going to give you my answer right now, but then I'm going to tell you why I believe my answer to be true. So straight away, in a nutshell, I'm going to say yes, social media is massively valuable, but also yes, social media can be a waste of time. It's all dependent how you use it. So social media is addictive, and like anything that's addictive, like alcohol, like drugs, anything that's addictive, depending how you use it will ultimately depend the quality you get from it. So alcohol used really responsibly and correctly can be really good for you. People, the studies have showed people that drink moderately can live longer than people that don't drink a teetotal, because it's a de-stressor and the social element you get from that. So but it's moderate, and the problem is the things that are addictive that you enjoy, you crave more, and you're often not in control of how you use that, you know, like the addiction is more in control than you are. So yeah, it can be good and it can be bad, but so used correctly can be good, and I'm going to show you both sides of that. So I'm Harvey, I'm a remote property investor, and I've used social media massively for my business. It's accelerated my business quicker than any other method I could have used to accelerate my business. And I'll put my flag in the sand right now and say there is not a quicker way to accelerate your business other than social media. I will say also, can you accelerate a business without social media? The answer is 100% yes. But with or without it, no matter how fast you accelerate your business with or without it, you will accelerate it faster alongside what you're doing if you went for a strategy without it. That's without question. Do you have to use it? Absolutely not. But you've got to understand that 100%. This is not even an opinion of mine. Sometimes I would say this is just my view. This is 100%. If you do not use social media alongside your strategy to build your business, you will slow down what you're doing. So you can still grow. You can still grow at a decent pace as well without it. There's many success stories out there that don't use social media. But without question, if them success stories, if they used it alongside what they was doing anyway, they would accelerate what they're doing, and that's without question. So that is definitely a fact, and I'll share with you some things why I'll show you for that to be a fact. The fact is, the more people that know what you do in business, the more people can do business with you. So there's no better way to put it out there and let people know what you're doing other than social media. But that said, it's not as easy as just turning up on social media, and what a lot of people think is, I'll open up an Instagram account, I'll open up a Facebook account, and the business is just going to come flooding to me. That's where it's got to be, on social media. Or they just post 3 or 4 times and they're like, oh, I didn't get any business, it don't work. Social media today takes a strategic effort to make it work. So very similar, again, going back to the alcohol scenario. So if you drink alcohol strategically, so if you drink 1 or 2 glasses of red wine per night, strategically, so you've got a limit on there, that's your strategic limit, that's the amount that just gives you a chill out, but not the amount that's going to give you a hangover in the morning. This will enhance what you're doing, but the difficult thing is you enjoy it. After you get to 2 glasses, you enjoyed it so much you end up at 3, 4, 5, and then it's maybe 2 bottles for some people. So it's very difficult for something that's enjoyable. It's very difficult to stay disciplined on it. And very similar again with social media. It's so addictive. You know, the likes you get and the engagement and just spying on other people's stuff. So if you can use it strategically, I know it's a bit of a far out example using alcohol to it, but it's very, very similar. If you can use it strategically, this will massively enhance your businesses and your life. Like I had a guy reach out to me. I grew up with him as childhood. I've not spoke to him maybe for, I'll say, at least 10 years. And when I last spoke to him, I probably hadn't spoke to him for another 20 years previous to that. And he just reached out to me on social media. We're having a conversation in Messenger at the moment. And it's fantastic. But again, it's what you put into something. So the people I see in the messages, somebody said people posted about their dinners and they put their whole life in there. Then they moan that Zuckerberg knows loads of the data points against us, or they get marketed in a certain way. Social media will also mirror what you put into it. So all the things you're looking at, all the things you're plugging into there will mirror you back, which personally I love. So in my social media feed, I just see other property stuff, other business stuff. I put it into my favorites to show at the top, and it feeds out stuff I'm interested in. The adverts I get, I like that. I like being targeted for adverts because I see adverts of stuff that's relevant to what I'm interested in. Not maybe lipstick or dog food, because I don't own a dog, you know. So I think, in fact, when you step back and step away and think about really what's going on, what would you prefer to see? Like you're going to see adverts no matter what happens. Would you like to see, like we get about 4,000 advertisements past our eyeballs every day. The average person that's on social media gets around 4 or 5,000 pieces of advertising per day. So what would you rather see? If you're going to get bombarded with adverts regardless, would you rather see stuff that's relevant to what you want to do or stuff that's irrelevant? It seems a no-brainer to me, but people don't step back for a second and think about it. But also, everybody enjoys the power what it gives you. You know, like even when you look on the form of siding it off a little bit, but the form of Amazon and things like that. I'll go on Amazon, it gives me book suggestions of what I want to read. I go on YouTube, it shows me interesting stuff of what I want to watch, not random stuff, not cat videos, because I'm not really interested in cat videos. So again, you have to take a large sense of responsibility with social media. How you use it is how it will portray back to you massively. But let's get into some of the benefits and how to use it as a benefit. As I said, there's pros and cons both ways. If you use it incorrectly, it's going to be a hindrance to your life. You're going to waste loads of time, and it will be a waste of your time. You don't create disciplines around it, you will get sucked into it because it is addictive. So unless you strategically do that, you can easily get sucked in. In fact, I strategically do it, and I find myself getting sucked in sometimes anyway. And I had no interest in social media before I set it up for business purposes. Zero interest. I wasn't interested in communicating with everybody. Although I've realised since I've been on there is a massive power to that, you know. So, but I had zero interest before that. I didn't get onto social media until about, must be 5, maybe 6 years ago. Yeah, about 6 years ago, I got on social media for the first time. And the only reason I joined social media is because I went to a network event and they had a social media Facebook group. And I was like, oh, wow, yeah, I want to be part of that group. So, yeah, that's the only reason I got on there. And that was it. But since then, I've been studying it. Initially, I was like everybody. So you go through a process. I was scared to do videos. I understood it. At the start of my journey of doing videos, I pretended to myself I didn't need them. And the truth was I was just too scared to do them. As opposed to admit I was too scared, it was easier to pretend I don't need that for my business. And often the thing you need the most is the thing you fear the most is the thing you need to do the most to excel yourself forward. All growth comes in unfamiliarity, pushing yourself out your comfort zone. And this is what happens with a lot of people in their journey. But as I said, also you get the polarized view of this. Some people just think it's just a case of setting up the social media channels. My friend done this. He wanted to start a business selling trainers, and he was like, okay, I'll set up social medias. And I was trying to give him some constructive feedback, like you need to create content, you need to create trust, no likability, before people were going to buy your trainers. There was high-end trainers for like £500-600, they were designer ones. So a lot of people are going to think they're fake. You can't just open that account and everybody's going to flood towards you. The organic reach stages, maybe on TikTok at the moment and maybe on Clubhouse, but on the other platforms that are more mature, the organic reach is gone, the viral reach is gone, you know. So you have to do a strategical plan in now. But so you can't just turn up and say I'm here and everybody's going to follow you today. So I'm going to give you some tips on how you create a strategical plan as well. But some of the benefits. So some of the benefits are you're going to get investment, but that's usually the number one that people think about. Online is like your CV. If people can see what you're up to, like there's a book by a guy called Robert Cialdini. I mention him all the time. It's called Influence. People take at least 7 points of contact or touch points with you before they build trust. That got written in the 1980s, I think it was, or the early 1990s, before Facebook, Google, online was a big thing. Google done a study. Google hold the most data in the world, so they're in a position to know people's buying behaviours better than anybody else. They called this study ZERMOT, Zero Moment of Truth. And the zero moment of truth is when people build enough trust to do business with somebody or buy from them. And they said it's more like 11, 12 touch points a day. And it's because of social media and online presences. So I have people that come to me who feel they know me, and vice versa. I go to other people online who I've been following online, and I feel like I've got to know them, and I feel like I trust them. Ask yourself this question: how many of you would trust your money with somebody like Mark Omar or or let's think of somebody who's got quite a prolific profile online. Let's think of OS. You've seen OS on there. How many of you would trust what he does? I would, for instance, if I knew I wanted to give somebody money, I would trust him because I've seen their profiles. Although I've spoke to OS online, I've met Mark Homer in person, I've done some training with him, but there's a lot of people that I would trust that I've never ever met in person because I've seen their videos and you get a feel for them. So this builds up that know, like and trustability without you having to meet them and make them touch points in person. Of course, once you, with investment or anybody, you have to take them offline and then build it up afterwards. There is an in-person element that goes with that. But if they've seen loads of your videos beforehand and your content and the posts that you've shared, they're going to then have a preconceived perception of you before you have that first conversation on the phone. So it leverages that massively. And again, a lot of people just think about investment especially in the property industry. However, everybody, building your network, this is the most powerful way to build your network, barring none. Of course, networking events are good, but this is the difference between using social media to build your network and using network events. And by the way, you do want to use both still. You don't want to give up networking, full stop, on networking events. And of course, you have to take them offline in person. Quite often, that offline is not offline anymore. It's on Zoom, still online, but you're actually speaking to them in person. Usually, the thing that happens is you put out your content and people engage with you. From that engagement, you take them through into, it's called conversations conversions. You have a little engagement under the post and you take them through into Messenger. You then in Messenger you have an engagement, you hit them touch points. You don't just go straight in on for investment. You'd have some touch points, find out their pains, find out what their desires are, find out what's going on in their life, build a bit of rapport with them across Messenger. And then you'll find out, well, we might be a fit here to work together. You then suggest, do you want to jump on a Zoom call? Because we actually work with people and I think we might be able to help you out. By that point, they've seen your video, they've probably looked at a few other your videos because they like that one they've seen. You've engaged with them on that video, you've got them into Messenger, you've engaged with them on Messenger, you're now getting them on a Zoom before you've even had that first conversation. So like, let's compare that to a network event. When you go to a network event, you just go up to them fresh, they've never seen you before, they don't know who you are, and you go up to them and you've got to tell them a little bit more around you. The first conversation you have using social media and using a funnel down and conversation conversion, that first conversation straight away, they're like, yeah, I've seen that, I've seen the project you've done, I've seen this, and as I said, it's like an online CV. I can see exactly what you've been up to, exactly what you'd like, and get a feel for your personality as well. So by the time you get that first in-person, still online, usually online, Zoom meeting with them, loads of them touch points have already, probably most of the time with me, when I get people on Zoom, there's more than 11 touch points been made already. So the trust is there. So it's just a case of converting that in the conversation and finding out a little bit more about them. But it's not only for investment. So if you look, builders, agents, solicitors, brokers, you name it, everybody is online today. Absolutely everybody. So I'll show you examples of this. Solicitor I've got, she's probably around 60. I don't want to guess her age because I feel a bit bad, but she's pushing towards retirement. She told me that anyway. And she's on Instagram. And she follows me on Instagram. And she loves the stuff I put on there about my boy. When we was on the phone the other day just sorting out a mortgage, she was like, the first words come out of my mouth is, Oscar's doing well, yeah, I love following him, blah, blah, blah. And I started talking about her kids because I know her Instagram account. And I'd never imagined her to be on Instagram. But also, while she's watching me with Oscar, she's seeing what I'm doing in my property journey as well. So it's building credibility, like an online CV. Tanya's just jumped on and said, yes, so true. There's another example of that. Who's the other person? I noticed it, and she said to me, you've been busy lately. So obviously she's referring to what's going on in my property world, my property business, because alongside me posting about my son and posting about my life and the interests I've got, I post about my property journey. And this is a real big tip for you. When you post, don't just post your property journey, post also what the books you're reading, what you've been up to, what's going on in your life, if you're going out, if you're going on holiday, if you're having a meal, like post about your life, because people want to get to know you. Gone are the times of a faceless company that just sells off of a website or a brochure alone. People want to know who's behind that, you know. And Richard Branson was the first key person of influence and the guy that broke that. And again, if you really want to understand this, read this book, fantastic book. I just re-listened to this again. I must have listened to this about 6 or 7 times, and I've read the book a few times. I've been on his trainings. I really like the concept behind this, and really will show you. There's another one called 24 Assets that he wrote as well, which will show you that today's assets are your social media posts, are your YouTube channels. They will bring you assets. That's your trickle down entry point into your business. And when you create social media and posts, they're there. They're like assets that are going to continuously work for you to bring people into your world as investors. But getting back to the other benefits, builders, another example. I had a builder that got as a recommendation from a guy I met on social media who watched my videos, reached out to me. He was in my remote location, so I'm a remote property investor. This guy was from the area. He reached out to me. We got friendly over the phone first of all, then met in person. And he recommended me a plasterer. That plasterer turned up to my property and done the work. I trusted that guy's opinion, so he done the work. We got it snagged. I texted him and said, yeah, send it over the invoice to Growth Property accounts at growthproperties.co.uk. And he was like, oh wow, you Growth Properties, I've been watching your videos. And his old attitude towards working with me shifted, because he obviously, that was my CV, he'd seen the previous jobs I'd done, and he was like, oh okay, I wouldn't mind being in with him. And it shifted. So he wasn't horrible to me in the first conversations, but when he see who I was and the dots met together, that shifted straight away. Another story of an agent. I walked up to a property before. One of my agents is on Instagram, always talks about my son and everything, got to know me more like that. But I remember one of the agents, a new agent, never met before, walked up to a property, and as we got outside, there was another investor outside the property. This is in Stockton-on-Tees, 250 miles away, 4-hour drive. This other investor was like, I recognise you from Growth Properties and the videos you put out. So we started talking about property. I actually a network, and he's in my network still to this day. This guy I met outside the property. The agent went off, and he actually went and checked me out online. And he eventually came along and wanted to actually work with me, and his attitude the next time I spoke to him was changed from the first time. And he said, look, my preconceived conception of you was you're coming up from the south, you're an investor sort of trying to throw your money about, and loads of agents do have a preconceived conception of you when you walk in, whether we like it or not. There's so many time wasters, or people with jump strategies, or want to be a deal packager, and they bid on properties and they haven't got investors, and like they've got preconceived conceptions, so you have to prove yourself to them. Very similar again, if you can get online with them and get them onto your online presence and friend request them, chat with them, natural curiosity of people is, oh, let's see what he's up to. So if you've got a history of a year, 2 years of posts, and they're seeing you're not just a startup, or even you are started, don't worry about this, but if they can, the quicker you start, it's like when should you plant a tree 20 years ago, when's the next best time today. Similar again, if you're not starting your social media to start your journey, or even if you had to start your journey, even better, start documenting what you're doing now. And even at start your journey, you could document the content you're consuming, the books you're reading, the network events you're going to, the viewings you're doing. Even if you haven't bought a property, as long as you're being active in the steps you're taking towards doing that, you can document all that, and it really pays you a load of power, you know. And as I said, you're just building up that CV as you go along. Another example, yeah, I won't keep on giving you examples of it, but everybody's online today. Everyone, surveyors, brokers, solicitors, and as I said, you'll build your trust and touch points with that. So building your network, barring none, is so much quicker than going out, meeting people, taking them for coffees. As I said, the old way, network event, you meet maybe 3 or 4 people you can have a conversation with. Probably out of them 3 or 4 people you had a conversation with, only 2 of them are a match. So social media, you can check these people out. When they engage with you, you can think, oh, we're a match. Could we actually do business together? So in an old network event, a way of doing this, you have to then go through, talk to them, and find out whether or not you could be a fit to be in each other's network, you know. And social media fast forwards that. And then let's say 2 out of 5 you spoke to, the whole evening it took you to do this. 2 out of 5 you spoke to, you get them into Messenger or by email, you follow up with them, and you've got to follow up with about 12 touch points before you've built this trust with them. This is the other person, but as I said, Google's the best position to tell you buying behaviours and human behaviour because they've got so much data. So this is the way I do networking now, is I don't carry business cards anymore, purposely. I'll go in there and they say, oh, have you got a business card? I say, no, but Joe, what? Check me out on Harvey Growth Properties. I'll say, Joe, what? Jump on there because there's a few of them and make sure you get the right one. So they open their phone up and say, yeah, that's me. Click on there. Message me on Messenger via there. And the curiosity of them is like, they'll go like that. Sometimes in front of you, they go, oh yeah, this is the one. And the curiosity, if you've spoke to them and you're resonated with them a little bit, they're going to go away and check you out, and then touch points have already built up by the time you jump them in Messenger or on the phone later on. So it's such a more powerful way. The blended way is really, really powerful. So different platforms give you different power. By far, I find Facebook is the most powerful way to build a network, not necessarily for investment, but you can get investment from Facebook. But the reason I think Facebook is powerful, and the power behind this as well, is recorded stuff. So I'll talk about all the networks. You've got Facebook, you've got Instagram, LinkedIn, Clubhouse, YouTube. There's lots more, but I'll talk about these in general. You've got TikTok now and different ones. They've all got bonuses and pros and cons. So for me, the most powerful for networking is Facebook, because there's already congregations of people that you want to network with put together. The thing with Instagram, LinkedIn, and these other places, even your Facebook personal page, you've got to build up the following and attract them in to follow you. So this can take some time, effort, and like unless you're on Clubhouse or TikTok at the moment, the organic reach is gone. So it takes a lot of time and effort to build up that following. Where you can go straight into Facebook groups like this. It's got over 40,000 people that's into a like-minded thing. You can find ones for builders in your area. You can find local area property group ones. You can find local area ones. You can find estate ones. If you've got an estate that you invest on, you can find estate ones on there. Start communicating in them. There's so many gathered groups of people, so you don't have to put the effort into trying to attract them to you. You can go and just turn up in these places where they're already attracted to and network. And it's so powerful. I've watched this do. I've coached people doing this, going into this group, asking strategic questions, and you just build out your network of builders, other investors, sources, everything so quickly, much more quicker than you would even if you lived in an area. Even if you lived in your own area and you're not doing it remotely, this is the fastest way to do this. Instagram and LinkedIn, pretty good for investment, growing your profile. LinkedIn, really, very good for investment. But again, you have to then build up the following behind them. Clubhouse is a fantastic network tool, but the disadvantage of Clubhouse is not recorded. As I said, imagine that you go to a network event, you network people. You might spend an hour talking and networking with people in between the break bits and when it's your networking time. You spend an hour creating content. Like you create in an hour, let's say you created 6 videos, 10-minute videos in an hour. They will be out there working for you forever. They're good. You can post them in these groups. They'll get some engagement and repurpose it onto your own like page afterwards. What I suggest people is, in these groups, what happens? The algorithms push down the post. No matter how good it is, they push them down eventually. If it's good, it stays at the top of the group for a while, but after a while, it eventually goes down. So go in these groups, practice what you're doing. So when you practice, if you've got a really high engagement video, download it and then put it onto your Facebook page. If the video wasn't engaging and it was a bit rubbish, just let it get swallowed in the algorithms in that group, because people won't go in that group searching for you, but they will go onto your personal page and they will have a look through the history of what's on there. And very similar again, if it works on there, don't do this as spam across all the groups at the same time, by the way, guys. People post the same post on all their platforms. I've linked my Instagram to I've linked my personal Instagram to my growth properties business page on Facebook, and it's the only one that you'll cross over at the same time. But I've got business pages and personal ones, and it's two, like, once I build a bit of a bigger team, I will do individual content staggered across them. But as I said, what you can do with this, especially if you've got a VA and things like that, you can repurpose it. So you have a really hit video, you can repurpose it 2 weeks later on your page, and then 2 weeks after that on somebody else's group. And then you can take out snippets and build it, make it down into small parts of videos and repurpose that then onto Instagram. You then can take that video and repurpose it and edit it around and put it onto your YouTube. You then can take that same video and you can put it onto a podcast. So you'll put that effort in once, and you can hire a team behind this. It takes a bit of systems to do it, but you can have it repurposed. So you become omnipresent. If you stagger that off of 1 hour's worth of 6 videos, you can have that being omnipresent across all the different groups that allow it. Some don't allow it, read their rules first, but across all the different groups, across your page, across your different platforms, and that can make you omnipresent, staggered out for 1 hour, could be working for you for like 6 months to a year, you know, and longer, especially on YouTube and your own platforms. That's going to be working for a long time, because people go back through or go on the search engines and refine that stuff, as opposed to spending 1 hour, really you've then got to do the follow-up stuff, like trying to get them touch points. So yeah, it's a no-brainer for me. It's absolutely no question about this. Social media is both, it will be a waste of time if you allow it to be. But what you want to get in the mindset is become a producer of social media, not a consumer. And when you do consume, make sure you restrict your consumption times down. So restrict, like you might enjoy just looking at mindless stuff and you might enjoy that, but say, look, I'm going to give myself 30 minutes a day to do that because it's not an income generating task in my business. You then might give yourself 30 minutes a day to consume educational stuff. It's a fantastic place to consume education, but you don't want to spend your whole day looking at what other people are up to. You want to get a bit of inspiration, a bit of education, and get on with what you need to be up to. And then you want to structure in how much time you're going to take to produce content, but be more heavily weighted towards being a producer, not a consumer of social media. As I said, go onto these other platforms. Clubhouse is a fantastic way to build your network, but it's just there. If the people are in that room at that point, then they miss it. It is a fantastic trickle down thing. So my Instagram is really growing as a result. The organic growth on there is phenomenal at the moment. So it's crazy. Like in about 6 weeks, I've got 1,700 followers, and on my scale and my profile, that's massive. Bearing in mind, I've been on Instagram nearly a year now, because I started Instagram at the last, I think about a month into the first lockdown. I thought, right, I need to widen my profile, and I started using Instagram about April time last year, and I've been posting pretty regular on there, and I've got 1,300 followers in a year as opposed to 1,700 followers on Instagram. Is the 700 followers as powerful as the one on Instagram? No, because unless I keep on turning up on Clubhouse, they will never see me again. But also, even if I do keep on turning up on Clubhouse, generally there's only about 100 to 200 people in the rooms on the stages that I talk on, you know, so it's not the same as Instagram, YouTube and all these other channels where they can filter down and watch my content time and time again, so don't leverage that. But that said, I do get a big filter down from that, you know, so I do get a big trickle down of all my other platforms for that. So yeah, answer to the question is yes, it can be a waste of time, but yes, it can be a tool. 100%, no questions about it. If you use this strategically and correctly, you will enhance your business, even if your business is doing well already. So what you have to ask yourself the question is fear holding me back from enhancing my business? Because that's the main reason people will be held back. And also, what you got to ask yourself, will my business be future-proofed as well? Your business might be working today without social media, but in another 10 years' time, will that be able to survive without that being online presence? I'm not sure. A lot of these are going to be going extinct if you don't evolve into that. And most of the time, it's either time that you've not got to evolve into it because your business is so busy. I must admit, when I first started using social media, we created so much business from it, and that was without a major strategical effort. It was a kind of strategical effort, but not majorly. I was just documenting what I was doing, but back then it was a little less noisy, about 5 years ago when I first started doing my videos. But I got too much investment. I got more investment than I could handle, and it was cracking my business. So I slowed down on social media because I had to get my business running to be able to handle the volume of that. So you might be in that position, but in general, you still need to be in the back of your mind going, right, when am I going to get back to the social media? Once I've got the systems in place to handle the volume, when am I going to go back to that? Or you've got to be thinking to yourself, am I going to slowly, like, you might think, oh, I've got customers now, I don't need more customers. But will one of your customers spot somebody on social media doing something that you're lacking to do because you're not involved, and then you lose that customer? So you really got to keep that presence there, you know, so important. Don't rest on your laurels because you're doing well now without it. I believe in 10 to 20 years time, all businesses, I'd say it'd be the odd exception to the rule that won't need it. So unless you're only in business, like maybe you want to retire in 2 years' time, it might not be as applicable to you, but without shadow of doubt, you really got to be focusing on this. So, but as I said, disciplined approach behind it. Yes, the answer. I know it seems like sitting on a fence. It can be yes both ways. So I hope you found that useful. Thanks for engaging, everybody. Thanks for your points of views with that. Please keep them points of views coming. Remember, this is All About Property live show. I'm here every single Saturday around 11 o'clock. That may change slightly when my wife starts playing hockey again, but I'm here every single Saturday to talk about content that's been created in this group. So engaging posts in this group. So please give me suggestions on stuff that you might want me to talk about. Happy to get anybody on a live with me if they want to talk about a post that they've done and have a bit of a Q&A, or I'll bring value to it. As long as it's a valuable post and we feel we can bring value to that, I'm happy to do that. It's approved by OS, so don't just jump on and do these. Ask OS first if you can do these, or be asked by OS to do these. But it's All About Property live show every single Saturday, and I'm here next Saturday. Please look out for us and have a fantastic Saturday, everybody. But remember, if you don't evolve your ideas, this is definitely looking at social media, you're never going to live on your own terms. So evolve your ideas, live on your own terms, and have a great weekend, everyone.